Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Ryviews.com. I'm here doing my very first tips and tricks video. This one's going to be for Gemcraft Chapter 2, Chasing Shadows. For those of you who haven't read my review, I highly recommend the game. I think it's great. Compared to the other Gemcraft games, I'd say it's definitely my favorite. Obviously, since it came out so recently, I'm possibly biased, but still, I think in long term, it's a very, very, very good game. I'm definitely enjoying it. I haven't beaten it yet, but I'm definitely enjoying it, and I think I'm going to keep enjoying it for a long time. So, this is my first of these videos. I'm planning on doing about 4 for Gemcraft. This one's going to be about battle advice. If you haven't read my review, it will be linked in the description, so feel free to go check it out if you haven't read it already, or feel free to read it again. Okay, so starting off here, load up my game. I'm not entirely sure how much more I have to go. I know there are still skills that I haven't unlocked and battle traits that I haven't unlocked, so there could be a few things I don't even know yet, but I'm going to do my best to try to help out anyone who's curious. I'm imagining that's why you're watching the video. So basically, like I said, I'm going to start off with some battle advice. In general, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. Kind of the first few steps. You want to go into a battle, you want to set up your world so that you're equipped to fight the gems, or use the gems to fight the bad guys. With no battle traits, obviously all these early maps go pretty quick. Later on you have a lot more ways to deal with, but in general, I usually start with 1 or 2 main gems. At this stage in the game, you can see here, I'm starting with 1400 mana and level 2. So I have quite a bit of starting pool at this point in the game. Early on, of course, it was different. But I like to start with about 2 gems, that way I can pick up stragglers, and usually, like right now, I'm able to get 2 level 3 gems, and still be able to build some towers if I need to. A level like this with starting gems, I could probably go 1 level further, I don't know. If I plug some of these together here, whoops. I could possibly even get 1 to level 4. Not quite. But this is usually kind of how I set it up, and with enough mana, you can always kind of set up a few mazes to go along with it. Basically, after that, I'll start it off and I'll let it run. One thing you want to make sure you're aware of is gem priorities, which was around in Labyrinth. I don't think it was around in the first 2 games. If you hit Shift and select the gem, you have all these options. Definitely pay attention to this, it's very useful. Early in the game, you don't really care that much, but nearest to the orb is the default. That's what I use almost all the time. There are different things though. You can select Swarmlings, Giants, Random, which is interesting. Structure, which is very useful, you take out nests. Flying ones, which is also very useful later on when you're fighting apparitions and specters, which I'll get to in a later video. Highest armor, which I like using for any gem with armor tearing. And then least hit points, which I tend to use at the end of a long match, because that way I can guarantee myself a bit of small XP towards the end, even if I'm not going to kill very much, and I know I'm going to die towards the end of Endurance. I can target the least hit points monsters, and I can actually get a few more kills squeezed in at the end. So basically, throughout the game you have a few good buildings, like towers and amplifiers and traps and walls, which you unlock through gameplay. For anyone who hasn't played through far enough in the game yet, these are amplifiers. They were in... I know they were in Labyrinth, I'm not sure if they were in Gemcraft Chapter 1, I don't remember. I know traps were around then. But you unlock all these during gameplay, which I really like about this game. I think it's definitely a nice feature. So, I'm guessing you all know what these do. Traps kind of help. You place them on the field, and they amplify the specials and don't do very much damage, so they're great for things like poison or mana gain or armor tearing. Amplifiers are fantastic for kind of amping up 1 solid gem. It seems like they're a little underpowered in this game compared to how they were in Labyrinth, but I think they were kind of broken in Labyrinth. So in general, so far, unless you level up amplifiers all the way, I'm not seeing a whole lot of reason to use that rather than use those gems for just attacking. But that might change. And I just recently unlocked amplifiers, so I haven't tested them a whole lot when I have the full 8 around 1 gem tower. But so far, it seems like they aren't as useful as they were in Labyrinth. As far as enemy buildings, let me get to a better map. There are some different buildings in this one, such as drop holders, which I find very entertaining. I don't know if that has one or not. Should have researched this ahead of time. Sorry, folks. But so there are these things called drop holders, and they're abandoned dwellings. So you can drop gems on here with bombs to blow them up. They give you a little XP and mana, which is very useful. For the most part, they don't repay the gem you put on, but it's XP. It's basically free XP, especially late in the game. If you drop at level 2 or level 3 on one of those buildings, you're not going to even notice in your mana pool. Usually for those kind of things, some of the drop holders do give you a gem, but it's not worthwhile early on, in my opinion, unless you've played the map and you know it's going to drop a gem. Like I said, it's useful XP, but you're going to notice it early on, you won't notice it later. So I would hold off on destroying buildings like that until late in the main game. Like here I have 18 waves, I would wait until probably at least wave 15, and I've built up lots of mana, and then destroy those later on. Same thing with monster nests. Usually I tend to not destroy those very early on unless they're really close. Like right now, if you set up your walls properly, this guy is just completely neutered. He can't do anything to me, and these guys are actually closer. So honestly, there's no problem. You can easily make him walk a really, really far distance. There's no reason to blow that up early. That being said, I almost always do blow them up later on, but it's when I have mana to spare. Last thing I want to talk about, this might be obvious, I don't know, but you want to make sure you maze your levels. So let's say you want to set up a good gem tower right here. You can hit all this area, so you want to make sure you maximize the time they're there, so you want to make these nice little mazes. The big difference in this game, as opposed to Labyrinth, is that in this case, if you build them this close together, you can't actually place traps. So depending on what your strategy is, like right now I don't have any slowing traps, so because none of these traps really help me near the gem, I would probably just place traps over here before they reach this area and don't really worry about it. If I had a slowing gem or some kind of gem that would help me while I'm attacking them in a tower, I'd want to space out my maze farther so that way I could actually fit some traps in there. And so if I want to slow them down while I was around this gem, I could do that. Otherwise, I mean, with something like armor tearing, or with poison, you want to take care of that before you start firing on it with a tower anyway. Otherwise, you'll just be wasting shots on armor that would have otherwise been torn already. So for things like armor tearing and for mana gain, because you want to hit them while they're still alive, you want to put those as early as possible. Obviously, while still getting good intersections. It's also a good idea sometimes to wall off sections like here, so that way if you put a trap, which I can't even afford anymore, if you put a trap right here, then all the monsters passing through would hit it. Otherwise, the monsters passing through here might go under. Little things like that can really help out in a long-term map, or even early on. If you have amped up your orange, you can make some serious mana just from lots of monsters running over it, especially swarmlings. So do not overlook how good traps can be. Okay, that's it for now. Like I said, expect a few more of these videos. I'm probably going to make them all pretty much boom, 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 boom. I guess I might not be posting them all right away, but stay tuned for more if you like them. Feel free to leave comments. Give me your feedback. I want to know how I can improve. So thank you very much for listening. Check out www.ryviews.com for more content. Thanks. Bye.